The Senior Rehab podcast is sponsored by Great Seminars and Books. If you need high-quality geriatric con ed that's worth your time and money, check out Great. Owned by the living legend Carol Lewis, Great offers courses and products created by recognized leaders in geriatrics. Learn the most effective techniques for diagnosing and treating your patients. Just go to seniorrehabproject.com/great and get $25 off by using the code SRP25. The show is also sponsored by you, the listener. Go to seniorrehabproject.com/join to find out how you can help steer the direction of this movement and join our monthly meetup. Once again, that is seniorrehabproject.com/join. Test. You gonna say it?
Test. Sybilis.
Test. Hit me.
Welcome to the Senior Rehab Podcast.
The podcast for rehab clinicians that want to better serve older adults.
And now, your host, Dustin Jones.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Senior Rehab Podcast. Thank you for your time this evening. I am joined by my good friend, Jefferson Musgrave. You all know him from West 6 Brewery. But where are we today, Jefferson?
We're at the Rock House Brewery in Lexington, just off of Limestone and Loudon.
Beautiful. Cheers, sir.
Cheers.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking the vanilla porter.
All right. I am too. Good beer. We have some friends with us. But first, before we kind of jump into what this evening's about, I have a question to you, the listener. Do you get value from this show? You have spent hours and hours listening to these interviews. I know it. I can see the stats. We have spent a lot of time together. You've heard lots of very intelligent rehab clinicians share some of their nuggets of wisdom and their experience, and I know you've gained from it. If you have gained from it, let me know by considering to become a patron of the show. So what that means is I'm asking for you to exchange value for value. I am giving you value through the show, and I'm asking for you to give value through your generous dollars, but also to be an active part of the formation of this content. So if you go to patreon.com/SRP, you can pledge money, and based on the amount that you give, that will give you a stake in the production of this show. So consider joining the team, becoming a patron at patreon.com/SRP. John, how's that for a sales pitch?
Oh, that's an excellent sales pitch. I love it. It's value for value, right?
Value for value. All right,
That's
folks.
awesome.
So I'm joined by my good buddy, John Thornton. He is my marketing manager for my new home health company, and then also joined by my brother-in-law, Trey Beckett, who is a field marketing specialist with the brand that we all love to mispronounce, Saucony, or Saucony. Which one is it?
It's actually Saucony.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for clearing that up.
Of course.
All right. So you may be wondering, why are we here with the field marketing specialist with the shoe brand and then the marketing manager for the home health company? But I do believe that we, as rehab clinicians, have a lot to learn from these folks in how they sell us or they sell a product. A lot of principles that we should be using in our interaction with our patients. So to kick things off, John, from your perspective, why do we need you? Why do we need you to work for our home health company?
That's a really good question. I have to ask myself that every single day. And thank goodness there is a need, or else I would not be accepting a paycheck. The why is, you'd be surprised how many people still don't know about home health. Even in the medical industry, I still run across practically every day anyone from a social worker to a CNA to a nurse to a physician that still either A, doesn't even know what home health can provide them, or they really don't understand the value of it. And with the way our healthcare industry is going right now, this is the wave of the future.
Yeah.
We have 11,000 seniors turning 65 every single week. We have the baby boomers that are going to be top heavy, just
The
like in
silver
Japan.
tsunami.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so eventually they will run out of beds and facility places for people. And wouldn't you want to be rehabbed and taken care of in your own home? The studies usually show that that's where we do our best rehab. That's where we get better the best.
Yeah.
That's the best frame of mind. So to answer your question, yeah, I think people need to know more about home health, and that's my job is to be an advocate and promote it.
Yeah. And a general theme on this podcast has been ours in home health perception has been terrible amongst the public, amongst physicians as well, just because you hear the horror stories of the clinicians walking in and doing 3 sets of 10 of seated Therex that may not do much for that patient, not challenge them to the point that they could be challenged, and a lot of people can see it as a waste of time. So I'm interested, how do you overcome that stigma? Like when you're walking in that doctor's office and they have perceptions of home health that may not be positive.
Right.
What's going on in your head to change their perceptions of what we do, of the services we provide?
First and foremost with that, it is a paradigm shift, because what we're doing in essence is we're taking care of their patients, and we take that very seriously. And that's what I want to bring across in the very beginning is, just like in any industry, there's good and bad shoe companies. There's good and bad, doctor's offices, frankly, or hospitals.
Yeah.
Not everyone's created equal. So I sell our value first and foremost and how serious we take their patients. And really comes down to, at the end of the conversation, after I've gone through everything of giving us a try. I can give you numbers all day, stats, but when it comes down to it, a lot of where I promote are hospitals, facilities, doctors' offices. These people are known by name to the doctors, and they're not just a number. And I don't treat them as such. And when I'm having a conversation, I try to paint a picture. Painting a picture is just a better way to have a physician understand what is it that John's going to provide me, what is it that we're going to be able to gain as an office from using his services. And again, I can say I'm different from everybody, but you're not going to know until you utilize the service, and until I can bring you back some good outcomes, until I can, you can see from the patient, hey, they came back in and sure enough, they are doing better, and we were great eyes and ears, and we communicated effectively back. So yeah, there's a lot of home health out there, and not all of them would I send a family member to.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's the biggest thing to me is we feel like we're a home health that, yes, doctor, you can even send your family member to, and you're going to feel good when you do it. And it is part of the care continuum.
Yeah.
And that's where they need to be at that time.
Yeah.
So
it's beautiful.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask you. What are you drinking, John?
I'm actually drinking the delicious vanilla porter. I've been here, clink.
Let's
to
get it.
the,
We haven't got a
absolutely. It's my second visit to the Rock House. I came on the grand opening evening, and they did a great job.
Yeah.
And I love their selection.
Beautiful place. So Jeff, you and I have had the pleasure of riding along with John.
Oh gosh.
I know for me, it was the first ride along I did in orientation with this new company, which the cool thing about the home health company we work for is that as a staff PT, I spent at least 3 to 4 hours with each person in the company, in our local, branch office. So I got a good glimpse of how everything works, how everything ticks. And we spent a whole day together, going around to different doctors' offices, and Jeff did as well. Jeff, I'd like to hear your outsider's perspective of John in his element of going into these what some would call awkward situations. And what did you notice that he did that really broke the ice or allowed him to connect with those people in a really effective way?
Well, I think something that I hope comes across in the interview tonight is how authentic John is. And I think something that struck me from the get-go, I think a lot of us as therapists, when you think about sales or marketing, you immediately think greasy car salesman that's trying to pull one over on somebody. And then I got I got to meet John and realize that he built authentic relationships with his referral sources, with his case managers, with the nurses. He knows what's going on in their lives, and he really cares.
Wow.
And it just really, I was totally floored because I think his title does nothing to describe what he does for our company. And I really believe that John is really in charge of the entire process for the patient. He is a patient's advocate. He's an educator.
Mm-hmm.
He educates the patient about what physical therapy or occupational therapy is. He gives them a heads up as far as how long to expect on the first visit, who will contact them, and making sure that their care is smooth from start to finish, and even closing the loop, bringing outcomes back to the physician.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's totally a closed loop system, and he's involved from start to finish. And I think that I had much lower expectations. I thought it was going to be, here's your pen. Hey, here's some referral pads.
Here's some cookies.
It's cookies. I do that too, by the way.
He doesn't need them. He doesn't need these tools. But I was just floored by how authentic he was. And John and I talked about this just very briefly because I was very impressed. But I'm just totally taken back by how much he knew about each person in depth, individually as a person, and he genuinely cares, and that's something that you can't fake.
Yeah. As Jeff was saying that, John actually just slipped him a $20 bill to say all those kind words.
Tell you, it's worth more than 20. I really appreciate that.
All right, so Trey, my brother-in-law, you're in the shoe industry, but I see a lot of what you do is very similar to John's work, and we were talking about this earlier. John is working with the physicians a lot of times, and the physicians are referring the patients to us. Trey works with a lot of people that sell his product, so it's kind of the same dynamic.
Right.
So just with kind of what we've been talking about, and just kind of what John, he's going in to these doctors' offices and trying to prove, his product, which is, us, the home health services. Do you see a lot of similarities in that in your work? And then what things in particular do you make sure that you do when you're going in to, say, that local shoe store?
Yeah, I totally agree that there's a lot of similarity, a lot of parallels. Working with as far as my daily routine, as far as working with staff and different retailers that carry our products, it's important to share with them what we're doing as a brand and how their store, their business can benefit from it. And whether it's a certain style of shoe or every product that we have is there's hundreds of hours of testing. There's an multi-million-dollar innovation lab that goes behind every shoe that comes out. And so that's important that they know, like, hey, there's this is the technology, this is the benefits of each shoe, and how they can take that information and use it in their daily work and work with customers. So there's a lot to know about footwear. A lot of people just tend to go somewhere and pick something off the shelf,
right.
But spending time at the right retailer or the account that a store that cares and wants to find the right product for them is certainly important. So it's great to kind of pass that information along to them.
I'm sorry, I was just going to ask, is it true that Saucony is actually a large town in Massachusetts?
So currently we're based in Boston.
Are you kidding? Oh, that was totally a stab in the dark.
No,
I was being smart. That is very funny.
For those of you that don't know, Saucony started in a small town in Pennsylvania, Kutztown, Pennsylvania.
No joke. Yeah.
So you brought up a good point to where you're going into these shoe stores and you have to portray why you all are a good product. The millions of dollars you all spend in testing these shoes and just the quality of the shoes and what they can do for the runners and all that stuff. You have to portray that to, the people that are selling the product on the floor. You have to do the same thing, John, I'm pointing at him right now, to say the case manager or the nurse or sometimes a physician, that you talk with. So I want to hear from both of you all practically. Let's think practical, like what goes through your head in those interactions, and what do you do to make sure that you stand out amongst the many other shoe brands or the many other home health companies that are approaching these people? And I think this will be helpful for people like me and Jeff and I, I don't know. My grandmother would slap me right now. And how should we be interacting with our patients to sell our brand, the brand of this home health company, to make sure that they think of us, next time they need therapy. So, John, what goes through your head? And then Trey, follow up. That's right.
Time is really limited in a lot of my calls, unless it's a sit-down situation. But even then, you'll notice when you go into the doctor's offices, they barely have enough time to even do lunch. They're doing it in shifts. So first and foremost, usually an elevator speech. I'm not taking a lot of time. So getting down to it quickly, respecting their time, thanking them. That sounds very basic, but it's true. They have a lot of different home healths that can come in there. So my thing is to pinpoint through questions. It's more of a like a Socratic method of, asking open-ended questions to get to their pain point faster. They all have it, and then it can all be different because we're selling in so many different venues. I could be in a cardiologist office 1 minute. I could be in a hospital with a hospitalist another minute. I could be in an internist the next. So understanding what their needs are, then asking questions when I go in to get to their pain point as fast as possible. Their pain point might be, a lot of our patients come from a county that there aren't a lot of home healths. Do you cover that county?
Yeah.
And if you cover that county, are your clinicians from that county? And a lot of our area, we cover 9 surrounding counties around Lexington. Trust is a big deal, letting somebody into your home, and it's important to us, so we respect that. And a lot of times we try to get people from the area, or at least keep them concentrated in that area. Same clinicians, same nurse in that area, same PT, same OT, maybe a nurse's aide, so that they see the same people coming in and out. All that kind of just puts to a formula of you're going to have less turmoil. It's going to be a very consistent basis to the office, just like when you're going into the office and you're seeing the same person at the front window. You're seeing the same nurse. You're seeing the doctor. So I try to portray that, again, paint the picture, get to a pain point. It could be insurance purposes. It could be, do you take Humana? We see a lot of Humana. Do you take, Medicare? We are a geriatric-focused home health, but there's no home health that's a panacea. And what I mean by that is there's not one home health that takes every insurance out there that goes everywhere. It's a logistical nightmare. So at the end of the day, you have to figure out what is it that is important to them, and then, hey, I'm gonna be able to make your life easier by A, B, and C. Now give me a shot.
Yeah,
that's it. That's it.
So good. So before Trey goes, Jeff and I are pumping our fists right now, because that, from the therapist standpoint, and this is just patient care, the quicker we get to their pain point, and I'm not necessarily talking about pain, but just what are their goals? What issues are they having? It may be they want to be able to get off the toilet without having to call in their daughter to help, or be able to walk 50 feet, whatever it is. The quicker we get to that and address that, we get buy-in so much quicker, and we could have a patient for life, if we address that. And it's amazing how little that happens in therapy.
And that's actually where that's the best referral that I could ever receive, is one that we've already maybe had in the past, and they're coming back to the system, and they love Gentiva because of you guys, because of our therapist, or because of our nurses, and we had a great experience. That's the number one question, that when you're in a facility and you're coming out, you're needing home health. Hey, have you had home health before?
Yeah.
Well, how was your experience? Well, it was great. And that's a testament to what our product is, which is you guys. So to answer your question from earlier, what is it that we can do as far as promoting? Promotion is the great job you guys do, frankly. It's word of mouth. We get so much word of mouth. At that level, at geriatric range, doing a great job with one family is immense.
Yeah.
I get referrals from so many different areas, but it's when it's word of mouth, or it was, hey, we're going back through the system and we love you guys. Those are the best referrals to get.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Trey, John, he's in there. He's got to give his elevator speech. Not a lot of time. I've been with him. It can be terribly awkward, which we'll probably talk about that in a little bit. So tell us about, a typical situation for you and what's going through your head and what you make sure to do to stand out amongst those people.
Yeah. I will say, it's for me, it's a lot different, especially going into a running store where some days are slower than others. And you may, instead of having that 5-10 minutes to speak with whoever it is to speak with, I may have that hour to set aside with staff and management. So, it can be different in that way, but, it's certainly not only being able to come across and explain what it is you need to explain, but is to acknowledge everyone that you're talking with. So someone who's a part-timer at the store, maybe just work weekends, they're very important to the whole process. And to acknowledge those folks, I could cut corners and work directly with the manager of the store and we could get a lot of things done. But, it's important to take time to, you talk with every employee that's in the store. Those are the folks that are really, they're the ones, the ambassadors for our brand. So they're the ones that are pulling that shoe from the back, the stock room, bringing it out to that customer. And so those folks, those part-timers, whoever it is, are just as important as, the other people in the room that are running the store. So, to be a major footwear brand, amongst, the brands that are in the run specialty industry, whether it's New Balance or Asics or Brooks, Nike and Adidas, we're among the top 2 or 3 brands in that industry. And so to be able to walk in this, whether it's a running store, people they have certain expectations. And so, I'm just like them. I worked in run specialty. I worked on the floor for a long time. I still love to when I get the chance. And so, you got to be able to make connections and to really show like, hey, we're here for you guys. There's a lot of channels out there nowadays. There's internet. There's big box stores. Dick's Sporting Goods, Zappos. There's a lot of different outlets. But when it comes down to it, nothing beats your local running store where, and that's who I work with directly. So
where everyone knows your name.
Everyone knows your name. That's exactly right. And they'll serve you maybe a cup of coffee while you're getting fitted for shoes. You can't beat that.
I want Jeff and John. Jeff, you could start with this one. I want you all to kind of talk about the formation of a relationship with an unnamed hospital in the area that, I think the first visit with you, and then Jeff has spent time with them since. I think this could potentially be viewed as a success story.
Absolutely.
Who knows what the future holds, but I think there's a lot of learning points in it. So, Jeff, can you kind of set the scene for us when you were with John going into this unnamed hospital? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. So, something that's really interesting, and this I'm sure happens as hospitals turn over staff, but John has worked this area. He knows the clients, he knows the physicians, he knows the processes, he knows the counties in this area. But we were in a case management office that had just cleaned house. So his connections, all the rapport that he had built with this office and these people and even their managers, gone. So walk into the room, and he's been here a time or two before I'd been there, and I think you went to visit just a week or two before. But we walk into the office, and he's very friendly. He knows his place. He knows his space and the area. He's learning the processes they're working through. He's got everyone's name memorized, where they sit. However, when we get to the point of like actually saying hello, and I guess if I can back up just a little bit, Trey made a point about recognizing each person in a facility or where you are. And I just went from a rehab hospital that John is very beloved. He knows everyone small and large, regardless of their title. He makes time for everybody. And it was like everyone had a face of relief when he walked in. It was like, oh, John's here. It's gonna.
Your wife says the same thing, right?
No.
Everyone was like, "Oh, great, a break from the local grind in my day." And then to go from that, where instead of John working a room, he had worked an entire hospital, but then to go into a hospital with new faces, where he's building from the ground up these relationships a little bit at a time. It was just cold. I mean, he was saying hello to people that wouldn't turn around in their little cubicle. They were scared. They were scared to death that their hand was going to be slapped if they took 10 seconds to say hello and make eye contact. So he was calling these people by name. They don't turn around from their little corners of the cubicle. It was incredibly cold.
Yeah.
It was incredibly cold.
Did your hands start sweating? Mine did.
My hands always sweat, probably a little more than usual.
Yeah, I've got a thick skin after all this. But you know what? We're all still human beings. Nobody likes to not be engaged. But again, it goes back to, and I appreciate those words, but yeah, just respecting the time, understanding your environment. You know, Trey hit it exactly correctly. And when it's every person there has a role that's important, and you treat them as such, and you treat them with respect, and you know they don't always throw it back. You don't know what's going on in their day, so I always try to remember that when maybe I'm not getting the reception that I should be.
Yeah.
But or I shouldn't say should be, but what I would like to have happen. But yeah. To take you guys into that, you guys it was a trial by fire a little bit. You guys got to go into a situation where that's about as tough as it gets. It's rarely any worse than that.
Good.
Again, it was a brand new situation. It happens in our industry a lot. The turnover happens, and then you're just starting from ground zero again.
Yeah.
You know what? A part of that I love. I love the beginning. I love, we have new faces, new people, and I'm not going to say I'm overconfident, but I know I can help them.
Yeah.
I know I can help them. And you're just going to, maybe today's not the day. I'll come back. I'll see you again really soon.
With that beautiful smile.
That's
come
right.
Walking in the door. And the cookies.
My orthodontist thanks you on that.
So it started off as terribly awkward. I will vouch for that. And then Jeff went again. So has that changed much, Jeff, from your perspective? What's that relationship like now with said hospital?
I would say it's dramatically different. Through a mutual friend, we were able to set up a meeting where John was able to get some much deserved FaceTime with these people because they had a problem. We had a solution for them. And I think we were being underutilized. And I think that's all going to change. But I think having a personal connection with one person to open the door to have that meeting so they could recognize John's value, what he could provide through our services, made all the difference. I mean, he did what he does really well, and he was just given a venue. That's all he really needed.
Yeah. Trey, I know you have some awkward situations that you have walking into shoe stores. So let's say you're walking in. The people on the floor just give you that look like, ugh, Saucony's here.
Oh yeah.
What goes through your head? What do you do to try and turn the ship in that situation?
Right. Yeah. I think being the face. I mean, in my territory, I'm the face of the brand. So any employee at any store, when they think of Saucony, they call me Saucony Trey. The guy with the beard.
Yeah. Good beard, by the way.
Yeah,
that's
guy
right.
with the beard. Appreciate
Most
that.
excellent.
That's right.
So I've got to, no matter the situation, you keep the energy up. You got to get people excited. So yeah, you're constantly. It's not necessarily a tug of war, but you got to feed off of their energy, and if it's negative, you got to turn it around and find a way to make it positive. But we're talking retail, so you never know what you'll get.
Yeah.
I'd say we've all worked in retail at some point, or know someone that has, and it can be it's not the funnest atmosphere all the time, and there's a lot of ways you've got to make it fun yourself. But and to be that guy to walk in and who not necessarily is a big time deal, but hey, I'm Trey from Saucony. People, their eyes light up and they want to know what's going on. So and how you're doing. So it's fun to be in that shoot. I was the same guy. I was those guys I was talking to all the time for 7 years. So I know how they feel. And but
that's cool.
Yeah, it's every day is it's an adventure for sure.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I want to bring up a point you mentioned. We've all probably been in retail. Some of us have, some of us haven't, but we have all been in sales. And I think that
correct.
is something that is lost in a lot of I guess in the rehab world. A lot of people that listen to this show, I don't want to make general statements, but we just don't think that we're in sales. We're not taught that in school. I don't know. I'm maybe speaking for myself, but I just don't view what I'm doing as I'm selling a brand. I'm selling this company. But man, as soon as you grasp that every interaction, every time that I make sure I call that patient, 5 hours before my appointment, so they know exactly when I'm coming, or that I, don't cancel on them. I don't shift around our appointments, that I, show up and I'm there with them and not on my computer the whole time. All those things are selling something. And it's, I could be selling a terrible reputation or a good, good service. And I think that's a big point that me and Jeff and the listeners have to really, really embrace. What are y'all's thoughts on that? In terms of just a regular Joe Schmo clinician, what encouragement would you give us in embracing the identity that we are salespeople as well?
I mean, in essence, you guys, I hate to say it again because it boils it down saying you're the product, but in essence, this is a service-related industry. I came from pharmaceuticals and biotech where I was selling a product that was, do you want that in red or blue? This is what milligram, what BID or, that's a total difference from service. Service is what we're doing each and every day out there. So like you said, when you're doing the courtesy of giving them plenty of notice before you come in, you have no idea how many people don't do that. How many other companies I hear don't do that. I get to hear a lot of the feedback that you guys don't. And we as salespeople probably should communicate that back to you all a little bit more. I don't like to intimidate on that, but everything resonates. And you guys could do 99% of the things right and do one thing wrong. Is that not true? And then they come back at you and go, you know what? It was okay. Well, why was it okay? But that rarely happens in my situation. I'm fortunate enough to work with a home health company that, honest to goodness, I get 99% great feedback from. I do, because what do they say? A person will walk a mile in the snow to vote against somebody, not to vote for them. So it accentuates it when you do a bad job. So it just goes to show the hiring strategy with the company and how tough it is. So it's a big deal. Just realize when you're in front of them, you are the face of the company. Sometimes people forget that, but you're representing even more than yourself. And if you can always keep that in the back of your mind, I think you're always going to make the right decision. I had a boss one time. I've been fortunate enough to have really good sales bosses in the past, and the one that always resonated with me was do what's best in the best interest of business at the end of the day. Whatever decision you have, if you just keep focused in that area, you're going to do okay. You're going to make mistakes along the way, but I think it means for you guys what's best for that patient. And you guys are the patient advocates, of course. And if you do what's best interest of that patient, no matter if somebody's watching or not, it's eventually going to get noticed. And it's noticed to the most important person, which is the person that you're helping, right? So I think it gets rewarded. I think there's a karma to our industry. I think there's a karma to what you guys do. And you put out that good, and it definitely comes back. You have to believe in that process.
Definitely when there's so much crappy care going around,
there
good
really
care gets
is.
picked up really quick.
We have a huge spectrum of care out there. Huge. You can't imagine how many bad comments I get back in general. So it's a challenge to get somebody. I know of an orthopedic surgeon in town that he would rather, after a knee surgery or a joint or major hip surgery, he would rather not use home health at all. Wait till they get to the 10th day and then hit outpatient. He might have them take a picture of what's going on with their flexing of their knee, and he'll measure it, and he'll be like, okay, this is what you want to do for that. And he's actually doing this on the fly. He hates home health that much. So he's a target for me. I want to turn that guy around. I want to show him that, you know what, there is a value there, and we can do a competent job for you.
Just Just get Jeff Musgrave to meet him.
I think Jeff knows him, but I'm not going to name names right now.
I think I do. Something else on that point, I think riding around with John, and even from my experience, I was in an outpatient clinic who was struggling. I was struggling to keep my schedule full, and I was trying to figure out like what is going on. And John, I think I mentioned this to you when I went around on my on sales calls with you, is that I knew nothing about sales, and I thought I should at least read a book about it. And one of the things that really blew me away was trying to figure out how the patient ended up at my office. And that was a point that you made earlier, Dustin, is why have they allowed me into their home? There's a motivating factor there. They got there somehow. And I think we just throw that out the window. Was it on the name of the physician? Was it on the name of the company? Was it on your name? Was it strictly convenience? I mean, all those factors play into what their expectations are before you walk in the door. And I think figuring that out in their perspective, what experiences they've had in physical therapy, so that you can help not make the same mistake at least when you walk in the door. But I think giving respect to how they got there is an important step, and then zeroing in on the pain point, as John put it. Why are you allowing me into your home? It's kind of probably awkward for you to let me in. You don't know what I'm going to do. Surely to goodness, we're not going to sit here and do long arc quads, for 7 months and hope that you get better. Like, there's an actual activity you want to do to get yourself better, and we should make that connection for them with our exercises, or try to go work on that thing. But,
do we need a refill?
We do.
Okay,
absolutely.
We're gonna pause this real quick, folks, and get another brewski. We'll be back in a brief second. All right, folks, we're back. I am drinking. What am I drinking, Trey?
This is the Groupie. It's one of the beers here at Rock House that they brew themselves.
Okay.
So.
Cheers to the Groupie. All right, Jeff and John, what are you all drinking?
this is the Black Butte.
Love it. It's a viscosity. I think it's a 10W30 weight.
It looks like motor oil. Yeah, straight up.
It's the Valvoline, the winter Valvoline mix.
All right, so
That'll
let's
take the creeks out. I think you've kind of covered this to some degree, John, and I would like for Trey and John both to weigh in on this. But for a rehab clinician who maybe, like Dustin and I, are oblivious to sales and how it happens in marketing, if they're in a situation where they need to, they're trying to call on a physician's office or a hospital, and maybe they are a business owner and they need to walk into that office cold the first time. Like, how do you pump them up? What are the things that they need to be focused on so that they can have a good interaction, or how should they expect to build that relationship maybe over time, or what goals would you set for them walking into the office the first day?
That's a good. I mean, for me, it's how would I want to be either treated, or what experiences would I like to have?
Everyone just nod their head for those that can't see.
So, I think for me, sometimes I have to take a step back and say, is what I'm doing the right thing? Is this how I would like to? Is this the type of experience I would enjoy? If I were in this employee's shoes, is this how, is this the kind of information I feel is valuable? And so sometimes I got to put myself in their shoes.
I think that's the main part, that's value added. It's what's valuable to them, and determining that. The faster you can get to it. I mentioned, I know it's, with sales, we call it different methods. Everybody has a different method, and you're finding your own, where your comfort level is. I use, again, they call it a Socratic method. It's very clinical, but I mean, it's the asking questions so that you can get to that. And some people do it and they don't even know they're doing it. It's very conversational. It's really easy to find. You don't ask those closed-ended, you ask the open-ended questions, but at the end of the day, I think Trey's exactly right. It's what's important to them, and the faster you can get to that is the faster you can get to the point, and you can actually bring that to them. But I think you guys don't give yourselves enough credit, honestly, for the salesmanship on that. Sales isn't always it isn't always a technique, but it's a process. And what I mean by that is you don't have to know a Socratic method to do it. You just have to know how you would want to be treated and how you can actually get to a solution. So it's a value-added, it's solution-based cells. And that's what I always think of when I'm going in there. They have an issue. Everybody does. There is no perfect home health. They see a million different scenarios a day. All I've got to do is expose a couple and get them thinking about it. When they start thinking about when I see a light bulb go off is when I can tell they're thinking of a specific patient, or probably in your case, they're thinking of a specific runner that is what I just covered, and they are cluing into it. And then the next thing you know, that really equates to probably 100
Right.
of them. You know, it's not that many differences. There is a lot of similarities. So to answer your question, is solution based, and you can get there. And I think you guys come across, when you don't know too much, it's a genuineness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not thinking about it too hard. People, they love that. They love that. You're not trying to finesse them. You're just trying to have an honest, genuine conversation to say, hey, how can I help you?
Yeah.
You know, it gets down to that sometimes.
That's a good point.
And and one thing I was thinking about when John was talking was for me, what I've learned today is all through experience. I went to college. I graduated with a graphic design degree. I started out as a painting major. I've never had a business class in my life. I've never read a book about sales. But what I've learned through working retail, just interactions, you might have a list, someone who's listening that is wondering, man, how do I get better? The service I provide, or what can I do that's better? And nothing really beats experience and just making those connections and relationships, and giving back. Not trying to always seal the deal, but if you just give a little, and people will recognize that, and they'll really appreciate what it is you're trying to sell.
That's a good point.
So to summarize to some degree, I think as clinicians, we want to walk into the scenario prepared with what we're going to say, but instead thinking about the other person, figuring out what they actually need before we're ready to just fire away with, this is what I'm good at, this is what I do. And it's like, you don't even know, you're not even clear on what they need before you are giving them a solution that maybe they don't need.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. That's a great summation, because a lot of new salespeople, the major thing that they have a hurdle is the fact that they're more concerned about what they're saying next than actually sitting there and listening to what they're telling you. And if you're more concerned about that, you've already lost it. You've already lost it, because you're missing the point of it. You're not there. You're not present. What does everybody say now? You're trying to be present in the moment. You're not present in the moment.
Yeah.
You're in your head. And when you're in your head, you're not really there for them.
Yeah.
You're not. You're worried about yourself.
I feel that as a podcast host, because you're talking.
Nice
and
segue.
I'm already trying to think of the next thing to say. So Jeff, I'm gonna let you speak for the rehab clinicians based on this conversation that we're having. You've got patients tomorrow. I know one of them. I've treated them as well. I've got 6 patients tomorrow. How are you going to be different? What practical steps are you going to take tomorrow to represent our brand, to represent you, and to sell your service to the patients that you're going to be working with?
Well, I think the first thing I'll do is try to figure out from the patient, how do you think things are going? Try to take a temperature. Do you feel like this is going well? Are you having a good experience? What's working? What's not working? And then getting laser focused on what's that thing that, for example, I know that the patient you're giving me is a post-op. They had that knee done for a reason. There's an activity, there's a frustration behind why they went under the knife. And if I can uncover that and make sure that their care is focused on that and I'm focused on that, then they're going to be with me, and we can do this journey together. So that's what I'm thinking.
I love
it. That is perfect.
You can
Spot
treat
on.
my mother any
Seriously.
day, Jeff, okay?
It would be an honor. She's a very, She's a very nice lady. I've actually met her.
All right, I want to be respectful of your time. So at this point of the show, I am going to pull up some questions. These are listener-generated questions. Two lovely people that the audience is very familiar with. Jamie Lowy, who is a home health physical therapist, and David Reed, who is the host of the Voice of the Patient podcast, an amazing blog, by the way. We'll start with Jamie's question first. And these are more kind of technical to healthcare. So I think, John, you'll be good to answer these. Jamie Lowy says, what are some of the challenges or obstacles encountered when reaching out to acute care facilities to develop collaborative plans with the CJR, which is a comprehensive care for joint replacement, and other Medicare bundled payment plans with the goal of reducing hospital readmission? So that's we kind of hit on this before. This is a scenario that Jeff and John talked about. So how would you answer that? What are some of the challenges or obstacles encountered when reaching out to these acute care facilities to develop that teamwork and that collaboration?
That's an excellent question, by the way. That is on the tip of my tongue in every acute whenever I'm going in there. And this all boils down to, and a lot of people on your podcast probably knows this, but for those that don't, it's part of the Affordable Care Act. And this is the way a lot of our patients who, through Medicare, are getting incentivized, the people that actually take care of them. They're doing it through patient satisfaction. They're doing it through saving dollars. They're doing that through faster times to get actually rehabbed. One thing that I learned with this, just a side note, I didn't realize for the last 2 years we've actually saved money with Medicare. We've actually gone the exact opposite way that we thought Medicare was actually going bankrupt. And in the last 2 years, we've actually managed to save money. So I hope, just on a political note, I hope that we keep the aspects of that plan that actually are working. And so I can speak to the challenges because I'm at the trench level. Yeah. And first things first, when I do my homework before I go into an acute care setting, you can go out to Medicare.gov, or you can go out to the actual acute care's website, and you can actually find out things like, what is their patient satisfaction rating? What is their rehospitalization rating? And when it depends on where they are in the system, because everybody can sign up at different times. Depends on if they're a freshman, a sophomore, junior, or senior. There is a myriad of different incentivizations and also de-incentivization. When they're getting to be a junior or a senior, meaning they're in their 3-4 years, not only are they getting incentivized for doing well, but they're also getting punished now. Yeah. So me understanding how long have you been in the system, understanding from your website where you guys are at, because you can lose millions of dollars at the end of the year for, basically having too many rehospitalizations, or, your outcomes aren't great. Yeah. So to answer the question, I already know a lot of their challenges before I even step through the door. And just like a good lawyer, I don't ask a stupid question. I ask a leading question, one that I probably already know the answer to. But I want to see their knowledge base. Do they care? They might not even care. And if they don't care, well, then I'm not going to keep focusing on something that they just really don't even, do I want to be the alarmist and raise it and tell, hey, you all are about to lose millions of dollars next year? No, they'll find out. I'll just I'll sit back. I'm waiting for, the wolf's not exactly at the door, it's at the sidewalk. But he's making his way up the driveway, and he'll be here pretty soon. So, that's not my job, is to tell them their job. But my job is to, when they recognize it, to be there, because home health plays a real vital role with that. When they're not utilizing us, it's almost like you want to do an I told you so. Right, You could definitely transition a geriatric out of a hospital in a much more responsible fashion with home health, but you'd be surprised how many don't. Yeah. And being that it is Medicare and you've paid into the system all your life, people don't understand there's not a limitation on how many days you can get assistance. There's not a limitation on the dollars spent. You're unlimited with time and unlimited with money, because there's no copay, there's no deductible. This is paid by the government. They recognize home health being a huge value. I'll give you a prime example. The average amount of dollars for home health per day for any skills that we do, which are 7 different ones, all the way from nursing to a nursing aide to therapy, $55 a day. They boiled it down to a number. For an acute facility, it's over $2,500 a day. Now, granted, we can't do everything that you can do in a facility.
Right.
We can't do that, but we sure can do a lot. And that's why you see faster discharges. A lot of people go, oh, the bottom line is because a hospital wants to make more money. Not always necessarily the truth. I mean, a hospital is a dangerous place, and I always say for a sick person, you don't want to be in a hospital.
Yeah.
Number 2 reason for somebody expiring in a hospital is something called nosocomial pneumonia, which is actually just hospital-acquired pneumonia. Hospital-acquired. Not you got it on the street, you got it in the hospital because you went in to have a knee surgery, and your immune system's already down, and the next thing you know, you contract this really dangerous infection, and it's unfortunate. So really, it's a dangerous place to be. They want to get you out of there faster. So I can throw out examples like that all day long, and accentuate the point of let's make sure we're helping you to get them out faster, help you with outcomes, rehospitalization. But at the end of the day, it comes down to patient care, patient satisfaction.
Yeah. And to give a little anecdotal response, Jamie asked whether challenges or obstacles encountered, and just from my personal experience speaking with the mutual friend at the unnamed facility, we were at a Halloween party, I think, is when I was talking to the guy.
Really?
And he he's the director of Rehab, and they the start of the new year, the bundle payment was coming out, and they were stressed to collaborate with a credible home health company, and he was talking about how they have had such bad experiences with so many home health companies that they don't know who to trust.
Sure.
They couldn't find that company that they knew that company would be there within 24 to 48 hours after discharge to get the care rolling, and that's terrible. But I think like for us that if we can step up, and you can show our value and we can show our value, and build that brand up, there's a big opportunity there. And I feel like that's probably a theme, not just in Lexington, but across the country, honestly.
I would agree with that. That's one of the reasons why it is fortunate I always feel like, just from a personal experience, we do have a good formula where I work because we are a 365, 24/7 type of home health. We had a Christmas start of care. We had a Christmas Eve start of care. Do I want to do that? Do I want to put my clinicians through that? I'll do my best to not have that happen. But your health doesn't always know it's a holiday, right? Yeah. You don't always know.
Great point.
So on that facet, we try to keep it to a minimum. But the bottom line is we're getting to you when you need it, not when it's convenient to us.
Yeah.
When it's appropriate for you.
Yeah, I like that. All right, second question. David Reed, my boy from North Kakalaki, he says, how has healthcare sales, in quotes, changed in the last 5 years, and how do you see it changing in the next 5 years?
I guess the best way to put it is we have seen the Affordable Care Act come out, so getting back to bundles, we're seeing how hospitals, how acutes, how nursing homes, everything's changing by how they're incentivized and how there's penalties involved. And it's all for a grand scheme of giving better patient care, of being able to save dollars in a system that was absolutely leaking dollars like a sieve.
Yeah.
And, to me, that's what I've seen change the most. Home health, just speaking from that manner, saying it like I said before, the wolf was at the sidewalk. It's a lot closer now. I wouldn't say it's right there banging on the door.
Yeah.
But it is for the people that are paying attention to rehospitalization, that are paying attention to outcomes. So you can discern pretty quickly who really has their finger on the pulse of where it's going. So that's what I think the next 5 years basically is going to be, is you're going to see the ones that were left behind they're gonna rush to, they're gonna try to play catch up.
Yeah.
And if you haven't linked up with someone who basically everybody wants to link up with, then you're gonna kind of be left with what's left over.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be getting the best results and the best service. It's. I looked in a paper last night. My daughter's 21. She goes to UK. She's looking at careers, and there was an article in their paper of the top industry, top positions available that are just busting out in the next 5 years. You always see those. Top 5 were all home health related.
Really?
Therapy, nursing,
Wow.
nurses' aides. It was all of that. That
Yeah.
is a sign of the times.
Yeah.
So I think that in the next 5 years, you're just going to see it get bigger.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate y'all hanging out at this lovely local brewery. But it's just been cool to see how, I mean, home health and then the running industry, two completely different
And you
fields from what you would
bridged it.
think.
You did
Somehow
great.
Well,
Bridged
it
it.
wasn't me,
it.
but
I
there's so
love
many
it.
themes
I love it.
and so many lessons for
Sure.
the home health clinician that's going to see 6 to 7 people tomorrow, which is just really cool to see. So thank you all for sharing
Thank you.
your wisdom, your experience, your insight. One final cheers.
Cheers.
Hitman. Thank you for listening to the Senior Rehab Podcast. I appreciate your time. And if you enjoyed this episode, do me one favor. Share it with one other person that would benefit. Thank you. If you want to see the show notes or find more episodes, just go to seniorrehabproject.com. And until next time, my friends, do not forget to stay funky. The Senior Rehab Podcast is sponsored by Great Seminars and Books. If you need high-quality geriatric con ed that's worth your time and money, check out Great. Owned by the living legend Carol Lewis, Great offers courses and products created by recognized leaders in geriatrics. Learn the most effective techniques for diagnosing and treating your patients. Just go to seniorrehabproject.com/great and get $25 off by using the code SRP25. The show is also sponsored by you, the listener. Go to seniorrehabproject.com/join to find out how you can help steer the direction of this movement and join our monthly meetup. Once again, that is seniorrehabproject.com/join.